Headline news most affecting Chilliwack this week. The candidates are speaking out, and chillTV will interview two of the players during this newscast. A COVID outbreak at Chilliwack General Hospital. Fall fairs and community markets are dealing with the mask rules. And speaking of COVID regulations, the BC Hockey League and the Chilliwack Chiefs will comply with the Provincial Health Officer's recommendations. Our special guests this week include a couple of the local federal election candidates, Kelly Velonis and Art Green. All right, Chilliwack, let's get started. Our top story. Throughout the federal election campaign, chillTV is inviting all candidates to come on board to News of the Week for interviews, and this applies to candidates for Chilliwack-Hope. Also, for the riding of Mission, Matsqui, Fraser Canyon, as that riding includes Kent, Harrison, and Agassiz. The Liberal candidate in Chilliwack-Hope for the September 20th vote is Kelly Velonis. The Green candidate is Art Green, and we will have interviews with both candidates at the end of this newscast. Also, Elections Canada now has a webpage set up for mail-in voting. Now, there have been a few complaints that the process is complicated and time-consuming. Well, you can apply through their website. It's electionscanada.ca. You can also use that page to register to vote. Coming up, or back on Monday, August the 30th, Fraser Health declaring a Covid-19 outbreak at Chilliwack General Hospital. This after evidence of transmission in a medicine unit. 3 patients at the hospital have tested positive for COVID as part of this outbreak. Now, the outbreak is limited to 1 unit, which is temporarily closed to admissions. Upon declaring the outbreak, though, Fraser Health immediately implemented precautions, including enhanced cleaning as well as contact tracing to protect the health of all staff, the medical staff, and the patients. Now, the emergency department at Chilliwack General remains open. There has been no impact to other areas of the hospital. And a COVID vaccination pop-up clinic is scheduled for this Sunday, September the 5th. That's under the gazebo at the main beach of Cultus Lake. This is for anyone of any age that needs either the first or second shot. More information can be found on the Cultus Lake Park Board website. Wilma's Transition Society is the nonprofit located in Chilliwack offering safe housing and support services for women and children who are victims of violence. The Transition Society opened their new outreach, support, and counseling office this past week. They can be found at 7075 Vetter Road. Wilma's Transition House, formerly known as Zolomet Society, was created back in 1988 as a nonprofit incorporated society dedicated solely to providing services to victims of family violence through support, advocacy, and education. The organizers of the Agassiz Fall Fair and the Corn Festival had to make some fairly hard choices for this year's show. All of this due to the reintroduction of masks for indoor gatherings. While the outdoor displays in the parade are still a go for September the 17th and 18th, all the indoor displays that were scheduled for the Ag Hall, they've been canceled for this year only. Now, the fair show runners are keeping an eye on the situation and hope that nothing else is canceled for this year's run. Chilliwack Museum and Archives looking for creative pieces to display in the upcoming Community Art Show. The exhibition will be hosted September the 24th through to January 22nd of next year, and it will feature imaginative works from the community. The exhibition will open to coincide with Culture Days, the national celebration of arts, culture, and heritage. This year's theme is Reimagine. Artists can apply through the Chilliwack Museum website. Downtown Chilliwack Community Market, the weekly summer market where local growers, crafters, and gatherers come together with products for the community and where the people of Chilliwack can find those locally grown, gathered, and crafted quality foods and products. So the location is still on Mill Street, parking lot across from the Harvest Cafe, and this was all supposed to end at the end of August, but 3 more dates have been added for September, the 5th, the 12th, and the 19th. And finally, sideswiped in all of the election news this week is the very important fact that next week, summer's over, at least for the kids, and everyone's back to school for after Labor Day Monday. And in that spirit, we want to take a moment to congratulate G.W. Graham grade 12 graduate Kaylee Halford, who is pictured with Sarah Fisher, branch manager of the Envision Financial Garrison branch, accepting the 4th annual TEDxChilliwack Envision Your Future Award, funded by Envision Financial. So best of luck in your studies, Kaylee. She is incidentally a published author. And for those wondering about TEDxChilliwack, which was canceled in 2020 and 2021 because of COVID, they've announced they'll be back in April of 2022, so we just have to keep our fingers crossed. Coming up in a moment, both of our interviews with Chilliwack-Hope federal election candidates Kelly Velonis and Art Green. chillTV's news of the weekend as we get closer to election 44. We are interviewing all the candidates in Chilliwack-Hope, and the Liberal candidate federally is Kelly Velonis, who is also the Executive Director for Chilliwack and District Seniors Resource Center. Kelly, right off the bat, not that long ago, you made it fairly clear after the last federal election that, okay, that's it, I've really got to concentrate on my job. Then there was a change of the heart. Why are you running? What made you change your mind saying the hat goes back in?
Well, hi, Don, and thank you for that question. Actually, it wasn't right after I ran. After the 2019 election, I was fully in to run again in the next election. And then unfortunately, as we all know, Covid-19 hit and the pandemic. Being the executive director for the Chilliwack and District Seniors Resource Society, my main focus at that time was making sure, one, we had a society to remain open, two, that my staff could remain employed, and three, that we were serving the most vulnerable seniors in our community through this pandemic. So it was at that time that I stood aside to allow somebody else to step forward, because I knew that I needed to put all of my energy into the Seniors Resource Society. We have been fortunate that we have actually come up ahead a little bit after the pandemic. We were able to involve ourselves in some new programs, some grocery programs, some rent subsidies, working with other partners, and the society is doing well and we're back on track. So it was at this point that I decided, after I got the blessing from my family and the blessing from my board, that I was to move forward and again put my name forward to be the Liberal candidate for Chilliwack and Hope.
Okay, the issues of the day, the Chilliwack Healthier Community people have put out, are in the process of putting out a number of questionnaires, and they put the question of housing to everyone. What can you do federally? Because this is an issue that covers not only local jurisdiction, provincial jurisdiction, federal when it comes to a number of issues. Should the Liberals come back into power, what can you and Justin Trudeau and the federal Liberals do to ease the housing crunch and make it affordable for seniors, for young people, for anyone? Because the housing crisis is just that. It's a crisis.
It absolutely is a crisis, Don. And as we showed in 2017 when we brought in the Housing First initiative, Chilliwack-Hope has actually been the recipient of some great affordable housing projects. We have the project on Webb Avenue, a 67-unit affordable housing complex. We had the $5 million that was put into the complex on right across from Evergreen Hall. And we also have the project that was a joint between the federal government, the provincial government, and the city of Chilliwack and Ruth and Naomi's in the housing project there. Yep. So we've shown that the dollars are coming. We've spoken to some of our municipal partners, and they've been waiting a long time to be able to get these partnerships going. And we're going to continue this by making housing more affordable for people, helping people with $30,000 off of their down payment, making sure that landlords are held accountable and that these rent increases stop. We need to keep building affordable housing. We need to work with our municipal governments as well, because as we all know, the backlog a lot of times is in getting things done at that level so builders can get building these housing. So getting permits and working with them in that way, working with Indigenous partners for Indigenous housing.
That's where you're heading to. Okay. Opioid addiction and the overdose crisis. We're just coming off of yet another overdose awareness criteria that was put out by Fraser Health. This isn't going to go anywhere fast. Are the Liberals looking at decriminalizing more drugs? Of course, obviously, cannabis is now legal in this country. What about, say, following the lead of, say, Portugal and things like not so much meth, but definitely cocaine, heroin, a safer drug supply? What is your opinion? What is the federal Liberals' opinion?
Okay, well, the federal Liberal opinion is definitely wanting to work with the provinces and following their lead and promoting what it is that they want to move forward with. As we all know in BC, it's an absolute crisis, and our own provincial government is tending to lean that way. And as a federal government, we would absolutely support what the province feels that they need to do. Personally, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, we need safe injection sites. I'm for that, and I think it's time that Chilliwack and Hope has that access to that. We need to make drugs more safer for the people out there on the streets. We need to stop the overdoses, and we need to have more treatment centers and more beds and more funding.
Jumpstarting the local economy, obviously because of COVID, everyone has taken a major hit. What is the outlook down the road from the federal Liberals and your point of view as well to get the economy back up and running? A lot of people, because of COVID, very hesitant to spend money, everything from home improvements to advertising dollars to you name it. And of course, now we're understanding that there's a shortage of kitty litter. That was on Facebook the other day. But in all seriousness, jumpstarting the economy, are we there yet, or are we looking at, say, an extension of the CRB and other ways of helping business get through the next few months?
Well, Don, I think along with everybody else, I really hope we're there yet. But as we've all seen in this pandemic, sometimes things come up and we don't have control. Unfortunately, the virus does. So until we have more people getting vaccinated, we're going to be faced with things that are coming out of left field. One of the things that the Liberal government is doing is working on the $10 a day childcare, where we already have 10 provinces signed on for that. With that will allow more people to get into the workforce and be able to afford putting their kids in daycare and working, putting more money back into our economy. We definitely need to look at what the support will be needed and what we need to do moving forward. But our economy is one of the main things that we need to be moving through this pandemic and looking on to the outside of it.
This will not be the last time we speak, Kelly. We have run out of time, but we will be back with you as well as the other candidates. And again, a big thank you for joining us on such short notice.
Oh, and thank you so much for taking your time.
Kelly Velonis, the Executive Director of the Chilliwack and District Seniors Resource Society and the federal Liberal candidate for Chilliwack-Hope in the September 20th federal election number 44. And you're watching chillTV's News of the Week. chillTV's News of the Week as we continue with our coverage of election number 44 and talking with local candidates. And this go around, Art Green with the Green Party. Art, this is not your first rodeo when it comes to running an election. You're an old hat at this. Want to start off with Chilliwack Healthier Communities. You have responded to their questionnaires. They are going to be asking you a number of things, and that is housing. And when it comes to housing, there's various forms of government, levels of government that have their fingers in the pie, if you will. But it's still a crisis. It doesn't matter who can say what. What can the Green Party do to help alleviate the housing crisis as we are running out of room, not just in Chilliwack, but throughout the entire Fraser Valley?
Well, I think housing is an incredibly important issue in the fact that all the solutions put out by different government agencies and all the different political parties, you know, they all have the same idea of remediation, and the fact that they just want to take a bunch of taxpayer money and throw it at the problem and then hope that it goes away. And our solution is a bit more down to earth than that. We actually believe that the solution for the housing crisis is to get the people that are on welfare, who are actually living on social assistance now, who have a housing allowance is like $360 a month, well, who in the world can possibly find a place to live at $360 a month unless you're sharing with like 4 other homeless people? Our solution comes down to like tiny homes. We believe that if we can get people into the housing market that had no other option before of ever owning a home, tiny homes is the real solution to our problem. If we allowed people who are on social assistance now, who are living on that housing allowance, to actually buy a tiny home on a government-sponsored lot and let them mortgage it over a 25-year amortization, that $360 a month now becomes an actual doable transition way to get them back out of homelessness and into the market. I'm sure all your viewers who've ever bought a home, who've ever owned their first home, like that's a life-changing experience. The fact that once you own a home, like your whole psyche changes about livability and how to carry on in life without having to rely on somebody else to house you. We probably all know as well that once your basic housing is paid for, or not paid for, but you can take care of it yourself, then most of the other problems that go along with being homeless disappear on their own. I know when I first owned my first home, it was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. It was like, I'm one of those people now. I can actually help myself and look after myself, because once your housing cost is paid for, then you can actually find different ways to supply yourself with food and nourishment and exercise and all the other great things about life that normally you don't have an opportunity to live on.
Okay, and let's just change gears just for a second here. The overdose crisis. The latest one from Fraser Health is set to expire, but it's not going to go away. We've already legalized cannabis. Should we follow the lead of, say, Portugal and legalize maybe heroin, or at least safer drugs? Or do we look at crystal meth? Do we look at cocaine? What is the answer to this? Because this is a crisis, not just fentanyl. It's not going to go away anytime soon.
Well, Portugal's got an excellent program for drug addiction and getting people off of drugs and maintaining drug levels. All drugs should be legalized. We should take it out of the legal system totally. And, this should be like a medical issue. It's a crisis for the people that are addicted to drugs. It's a crisis for the people that are affected by people that are addicted to drugs. Why don't we run this whole gambit through the medical system so people can get help through their doctors? They can find different types of drugs to get them off their more addictive type of drugs. I know I just broke my neck recently, and they had me on hydromorphone for a long time, and but I've been able to get off it with other drugs. But I had to go through a little period of withdrawal as well. So I mean, we can help these people, find their way to get off drugs, to get on drugs that are more suitable to maintaining their health levels, such as methadone, for example, which has become quite a popular way to rid of heroin addiction.
And one other issue I did want to touch base on, and that is the economy. The Conservatives, Aaron O'Toole, saying his plan is to balance the books in 10 years. We are still dealing with COVID, and we will be dealing with it for quite some time as it affects the economy. There's always been, fair or not fair, a shot at the Greens saying, it's great to talk about the environment, but can you balance the checkbook of the federal government? So we throw that to you. Can the Green Party balance the national checkbook?
Absolutely. And I think the way we can start off by doing that is through what we call a guaranteed livable income. It costs us more money to, with all the different agencies that are involved, to keep people homeless, to keep them, off a livable wage, or, and we've had ideas from other political parties about just a guaranteed income and not a livable income. Like $360 a month for housing, for example, is not going to help anybody. But if you give them an opportunity to own their own home, so that $360 a month can actually be reduced, because if you can get buy a fully equipped tiny home for say $25,000 and amortize it over a 25-year mortgage, that's less than $100 a month in principal to pay off that mortgage. That $360 a month housing allowance could be almost cut in half, so we could actually save money by putting people in livable homes with a livable wage, and then we can get rid of all the other agencies like the police and the healthcare system. We've got to start to think out of the box, because all we've been doing is, and CERB has been a real eye-opener for me, that we just can't throw money at things anymore without it being sustainable.
And on that note, unfortunately, we have to call it a day here, but there will be more times that we'll be able to have conversations as we lead into the September 20th vote. As always, the Green candidate for Chilliwack-Hope, Art Green, a big thank you for coming in, and hopefully you feel better after that neck injury. Thanks for coming by.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be with you, and I'd like to say, to give us to your viewers, to give us a shot and think about some of the things that I've said today. And we need more Greens in government, whether they're elected or not. We have to put the pressure on the other political parties as well to keep the Green perspective alive. Otherwise, their future doesn't look very bright.
Art Green with the Green Party, no pun intended. Thanks again, and you're watching Chill TV's News of the Week.
Thank you so much.
Chill TV Sports, the Chilliwack Chiefs and the BC Hockey League releasing a statement this week on COVID protocol as they are entering the new 54-game hockey season. Masks must be worn inside all the rinks. As well, COVID vaccination passports will be checked before entering. The BC Hockey League also told Chill TV that the Wenatchee Wild are expected to play a full season this year. Now, how that will work out with border restrictions still remains to be seen. Chill TV was told that there may be some, shall we say, tinkering with the schedule to make cross-border hockey a reality. Last week, we told you that football was truly back, baby. The Giants had their successful Chili Bowl, and this week it's the Valley Huskers as they kick off a short season with a home game against the Okanagan Sun. That is going to be Saturday at 2 o'clock at Exhibition Stadium. There's also a couple of games that are going to be moved from the interior, from Kelowna as well as Kamloops, because of COVID protocol and wildfire risk. And all that information can be found not only on the Valley Huskers website, but also through the social media of the BC Football Conference. Trinity Western's women's basketball coach, Cheryl Jean-Paul, has won silver at the FIBA Under-16 America's Women's Championship. She coached Canada to a second-place finish at the biannual event. This silver medal stands as her second at the Under-16 Americas. She led that team to the final back in 2019. So, with all of this tournament work done, Jean-Paul returns to Langley to coach the Spartans women's basketball team in its return to Canada West competition. After the 2021 season was canceled because of COVID, the Spartans returned to conference action and back on the floor October 28th against UBC. It used to be that radio play-by-play was expected from any major league team. That's changed with social media over the last 20 years. Now, locally, the Chilliwack Chiefs lost their radio broadcaster 7 years ago in 2014, and since then, you've had to go to a pay-per-view just to keep up with those games. Now, the Abbotsford Canucks are facing a similar situation. So far, they do not have a radio voice. The station that does the parent club, the Vancouver Canucks in Vancouver, is Sportsnet 650. However, they have said they just don't have room in their schedule. And add insult to injury, their signal really doesn't reach well into the valley. Abbotsford's predecessor, the Heat, did have radio rights with Country 107. Here's the irony. Rogers owns both 650 and Country 107. And their name is on the Rogers Arena, the home of the Vancouver Canucks. After saying all that, though, there's still plenty of time for some type of a radio deal to be reached. chillTV weather, expect showers for, well, 2/3 of the Labor Day long weekend. For Saturday and Sunday, showers in the high of 21. We're hoping to see the sun on holiday Monday. If you'd like to participate in reporting news in Chilliwack and you have a story you think we should know about, send us a note to news@chilltv.ca and we'd love to hear from you. That's the news this week. Enjoy your Labor Day long weekend. I'm Don Lehn.